everybody. I am Dr. Jen, and this is called Eat Your Damn Food. And I am here with Merrit Stahle, and she is a recovery coach. And it has been years since we met, all that long time ago, and we're reconnecting. And I just want to thank you for saying yes and being with us today to talk about something that is so important, which is how we talk to ourselves really matters. So, Merritt, welcome.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here and I'm so happy to see you. It's been forever.
It's been some time, so I'm really glad we're reconnecting and on such a positive and important topic, right? I mean, God,
Yes.
it's something I'm always practicing,
Mhm.
right? Always practicing. And it's so easy. I was telling you right before we kind of went on that I have been a little under the weather. And I haven't been under the weather for a while, right? I'm getting on like the tail end of a cold. And I have noticed, like, with my own thinking, I have to be really mindful when I'm not feeling 100%,
Mhm.
right? Like, our thinking can go a little darker. And so it's something I'm always practicing. So I think this is such an important topic and such an important topic when you're in recovery. So, Merritt, tell us a little bit about yourself and, how you got into being an eating disorder recovery coach and maybe a little bit about your own story.
Yes, I can definitely do that. Well, as you said, I'm an eating disorder recovery coach. I'm based in Chicago, but I see all of my clients virtually all over the US. So not limited by any licensure laws, thankfully. Um, I became a recovery coach because I felt like it was a missing piece in my recovery. I struggled with an eating disorder throughout my adolescence and throughout my college years. And I knew that there was something missing in my treatment. And I didn't know what an eating disorder recovery coach was at the time. And so after I had gotten to full recovery and graduated, I went to work in the fashion industry. And I was peer mentoring other young women with eating disorders at the time, just a volunteer gig. And I realized how fulfilling and meaningful it was to me. And so I went back to school to get my master's degree and now become a eating disorder recovery coach. And that's my full-time gig. So that's really how I got here. I help.
So glad you left that industry to make such a difference because I think there's really something when you have walked in somebody's shoes. I always say each person has their own struggle, their own journey. It never looks the same, but like, having that experience that you can bring to your clients makes a huge difference.
Mhm. And just being able to relate to the very basics of like, I get the shame that you're feeling. I get that parts of this could feel embarrassing to you, and I've been there, and I'm here to tell you that it's not. And if you feel that way, I'll be here to walk that path with you, really.
So tell us a little bit this idea of, sometimes you hear that in the media and these self-help books, like how you talk to yourself matters, but it really does. Like
Really
it
does.
really, really does. So maybe you could share, like, how did that start making a difference in your own recovery?
Mhm.
And then we'll kind of like, how do you work with clients around this?
Right. Well, I think that I learned after years of speaking to myself quite negatively that the way you talk to yourself influences your behaviors, your beliefs. And so the only way to make progress in recovery is to learn how to challenge the inner critic and to talk to yourself a lot nicer. And so I think I got to a point where I was fed up with the way that I was talking to myself, and I knew that something needed to change. And I started reading a lot of spiritual books like The Untethered Soul, The Four Agreements, The Power of Now. And those really had a big impact on me and my recovery and my self-talk.
Me too. Those are some of my I Power of Now. I have read and reread parts of that book and the whole book, and that book was very influential,
Mhm.
really
And
influential.
those types of books really were the books that spoke to me in eating disorder recovery. Not even so much the books that like specifically targeted recovery topics, but those really had an impact.
Wow. So, it's interesting when you said you knew. like something had to change up there.
Mhm.
And I sort of remember that too. Now that you're saying that, I remember like, oh, like I don't think I want to talk to myself this way anymore. And I also remember thinking it was helpful to be like hard on myself,
Mhm.
right? Like it helped me in some way. And um, well, that's really messed up, right? And I remember sort of when it started to really shift. And, some people might be like, what are they talking about? Some people are not. They're like, oh, yeah, I'm mean to myself. I'm critical. I'm perfectionistic. I'm too hard on myself. But how do you really start getting the awareness? And then how do you really start getting it to change? I know that's like the $1 million question, but maybe there's some other like specific things that you use or you use with clients that really increases the awareness and then starts having it shift.
Mhm. Well, one of the first things that I do with my clients, and then I'll get into some other tools, I have a Google Doc with each client that I work with. And one of the very first things that we work on, I'll have them write down their eating disorder thoughts.
Mm,
And if they don't know what they are, that's okay. We'll start thinking about how they can reach out in moments of anxiety and try to tap into what those thoughts sound like. Um,
mm,
but back to the Google Doc, we will write kind of this master list of eating disorder thoughts, and then we will go in and we'll tailor healthy self responses to their personality, what resonates with them, because you need to be specific in your self talk. You can't just write a bunch of random stuff that sounds too flowery or maybe you don't really believe. So I like to be really precise with the healthy self responses that I kind of create with my clients. Um,
mm,
and it can be as simple as just start a list, start writing them down, start writing down the healthy self responses. One of the most powerful tools is distance self talk. And
mm,
so if you stay away from I statements and you kind of talk to yourself as though you're talking to a friend, using your name, using third person pronouns, and you're creating some psychological distance by doing that,
mm,
right? And so that really helps you to challenge harmful thoughts and to be a lot more compassionate. And so an example of that might look like, someone has an eating disorder thought and your response could be like, "Hey Merritt, why are you talking to yourself like that? That's not productive." So using your name, using the word you, it can create some distance and make it much easier to tap into
mm.
what a positive response would be.
So good. I like how you're framing this, the distancing self-talk. That's interesting. I haven't heard it framed exactly that way, but I think it can be so helpful to, right, like you're saying, it kind of creates some space. So you're
Mhm.
not like merged with that negative thought or that negative voice in some way. It's starting to have you separate. So that's really kind of the point of it. And sometimes people say, oh gosh, Dr. Jenna, you're going to give me an affirmation or something. And you're right. Sometimes those can land like way too fluffy or
Yeah.
not connected. So if somebody's listening and they're like, oh gosh, hey, you guys, I got my negative self-talk. That one I got down. I'm clear. I can hear it. But now they want to create something new. How would you have somebody create something new that feels like useful or meaningful or more true to them versus some little flowery kind of affirmation? I mean, look, affirmations can work, but
Mhm.
sometimes it can, like you're saying, like land like it's doesn't connect so well.
Right. Well, in my coaching sessions, what I would do is probably give them a few examples like, hey, does this sound like you? Would you really say that to yourself? And sometimes we're like, yeah. And sometimes my clients will be like, no, I would not say that. And so we kind of just go down the line, tailoring it specifically to something that feels a little bit more neutral. And it doesn't have to be extremely positive, but it can't be negative, and it needs to be truthful. That's the secret, because a lot of these harmful thoughts that you're thinking are not truthful at all. And so that's the very first place that we need to start.
Right. Right. Oh, that's so good. So really identifying, like hearing the voice, really getting this is not me and it's probably not true,
Mhm.
right? I'm making it mean something about myself, probably not true. Can I get some space from it And can I say something else? And I like what you said. It doesn't have to be like so positive. It could be more neutral, but something that you can take on and believe. And maybe there's also something, I don't know what you think about this, but like something that's your stretch a little bit.
Mhm.
Like maybe the person doesn't totally believe it in the moment, but they want to believe it.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know if that ever comes up for some of your clients.
Definitely, definitely. And what you could also do in that moment is if you don't have a provider to kind of review this with, you could use ChatGPT and say, help me think of a healthy self-response to this harmful thought. Make it in a relaxed tone, don't use overly positive language, and then you can kind of tweak it. Use AI. It can be
So
helpful.
great. In a million years, I wouldn't have come up. Hey, you could do this, but that is a great idea. I really like that. That's awesome.
It can be used for good.
Yeah. So, Merritt, I'm sure somebody's listening is like, well, I would really like to work with her, or I want to pick her brain more about this. So, where can people find you if they want more guidance? Like you said, how helpful it has been to have a coach on your, with you can see that was like a missing ingredient. I know with us on the Fab team, we have a coach and she's like a holistic coach and clients really, really love her. So I think it's such an instrumental role. So where can people find you, Merritt?
They can find me. I have an Instagram account. It's Merritt Elizabeth, Merrit, Elizabeth, Elizabeth. And you can also find me on my website, merittelizabethrecovery.com. And hopefully that has a lot of good information on coaching if you want to look into it.
That's awesome. Merritt, thank you so much for being here. I'm definitely going to have you back and want you to meet the Fab team as well. So we're going to plan that too. Okay, Merritt. Have a good night. Have a good night, everybody.